Well, hello, and thank you for joining us to do a walk through Pillar One of our Racial Equity Playbook for Corporate Canada. I'm Lorena Buck. I'm a senior advisor with Boston Consulting Group and a part of the BCG team that's been supporting BlackNorth on this initiative. And so we wanted to start on Pillar One with walking you through how to shape an inclusive pipeline and equitable hiring process across your organization. Now, we wanted to start here just so that you can see this is one of the 6 pillars that you'll find in the Racial Equity Playbook. And it is the first because recruiting is the first step in your employee process, but it's really important to note that we actually always suggest that if you're trying to figure out where to start on the people side, that it is actually very important to make sure that you start with the practices that you're doing on the retention and promotion of your talent first before you work on your recruiting pipeline, because you want to ensure that you have the right processes and culture in place before you open up your funnel to bring people in. Otherwise, you may not be able to support them, retain them, and promote them appropriately. Now, with that, let's go ahead and step into this first pillar. So when we think about shaping our inclusive and equitable hiring process, the outcome that we're striving for is to ensure that we're able to hire a racially representative set of candidates across our organization. Why do we want to do this? Because we truly believe that it will actually improve our productivity, our innovation, our problem solving, and our decision making in the organization, and enable us to actually have better business outcomes. Now, when you think about what stakeholders need to be involved in this process, I think we all know that the recruiting team will be an important interface in this process and in many ways the owner of that. But it's also equally important to ensure that you have your business leaders as owners in this process as well, because at the end of the day, they are the ones that are making the decisions on the people that will be part of their teams. And so you need to have them fully bought in to this process and a part of it as well. In addition, you will have other stakeholders who are participating. For instance, whoever is owning your HR data, legal and finance, as important parts of the team that will be contributing data and perspectives to ensure that what you're doing meets all legal criteria, things like that. You'll also be engaging, I'm sure, a number of external partners that you may work with to help ensure that you're accessing the diverse talent that you want to access. And finally, obviously, this process will impact your applicant base and the new hires that you bring into your organization. Now, the 3 main levers that we talk about in this section are the following. First, the things that we can do to actually help expand your talent pool and ensure that you have a diverse talent pool that's even coming into the beginning of your recruiting funnel. Second, ensuring that you're creating inclusive requirements in your job postings, because we think that's going to be important, again, to be able to attract the right individuals to apply to those positions. And third, to ensure that you do not have bias in your screening, your interview, and your hiring process, so that if you're able to create the right mechanisms to have a good funnel at the beginning, that you're able to get to a good outcome at the end of your recruiting process as well. And on this page, we've included some common and innovative practices, but in a few pages, we'll also show you, and in the playbook, you will find a broader set of actions that you can use in your organization. Now, I'd like to step into one of the first things that you'll need to do in your organization, which is to understand what is your baseline. And so for this part, one of the most important things is understanding, where is it that you may be having some issues that you want to resolve? Is it in that early stage of just getting, access to the right pipeline of talent? Or is it somewhere in that recruiting process, leading you to not getting the outcome that you want? And so we have steps outlined here that will help you to go through this process. And one of the most important things will be to understand the baseline of your new hires within your company, And depending on the size of your company, that may be, looking at, individual levels. You may want to look at that by certain functions or teams. And it'll also be actually trying to look at different stages of your recruiting funnel as well, so that you can understand, what is there any difference in the percent of Blacks, for instance, that were applicants for this particular job versus, what percent actually got hired in. And after you've created that baseline, the next step is going to be using that to help you understand what it is that you need to actually be changing and what should be your aspiration as you move forward. When we think about building aspirations, one of the most important things to understand is what should you be comparing yourself to and how should you set that aspiration? One of the things that we thought is a good starting point is just understanding, what percent of the total workforce in corporate Canada is Black today. You can also look at, what is the demographics of the specific, location, geography that you're based in. It could be that you tend to recruit from very specific institutions or schools. You may want to look at the actual racial diversity of those specific institutions and schools to understand, if I'm pulling from this type of a population, what should I expect to be getting for representation at the beginning of my funnel and then later on into my company, and using that to help yourself set the right aspirations for your organization. Now, after you've gone through that baselining exercise, now you can start to think about what are the actions that you want to be taking within your organization. Now, this is what a typical actions page looks like for us. In this section, there are 3 of them, one for each of the 3 levers. I'm just going to walk you through one of these pages, the one that is for expanding your talent pool. And so here, what you'll notice is that we've organized this set of actions into these 3 buckets. The first one, actions that are focused on people. The second, actions that are focused on process and policy changes. And the third bucket are actions that are focused on incorporating technology and data into your process. The other thing that you'll notice on this page is that we've also put these little colored circles next to each of these actions to designate the level of effort required to implement each of these. So some of them require less effort than others, and we want you to, be able to use that as another informative way to understand where to start and where to invest. And then third, we've put these blue stars on a handful of these that we consider to be no regrets actions. And so if you're unsure where to start and what's going to get you the most bang for your buck, we recommend at least starting with those blue stars as you're embarking upon this journey. And so maybe if I just read out a couple of those, the ways in which we think are, some of the most important things to start with are things like just ensuring that you actually can have some diverse representation of your company at recruiting events, so that you're able to attract a more diverse talent base into the company. Another really important one in our mind under the process and policy is this idea of considering applicants from, let's say, non-target schools. And this comes into play in a number of ways, but the concept here is just, if you've been historically, taking people that have a very specific background or coming from a very specific place that may not have the diversity that you're looking for, are there other places that you can look at for talent that are still going to have highly qualified talent, but may be able to increase the diversity of the talent pool that you're actually seeking? Now, after you choose these actions, the next sections that you'll find inside the playbook will walk you through how to actually track progress on your recruiting process, as well as offer you some resources that will help you, actually go about this change. So some templates and things like that that can actually help you to track progress on your recruiting pipeline. And then finally, we offer some case studies that can give some examples of how other companies have been able to take similar steps. The one case study I wanted to walk you through today is one for Caterpillar, where for them, they recognized that they wanted to be able to diversify the pool of talent they were recruiting from. And so one of the pools of talent that they wanted to be able to attract was Black folk, people without a high school diploma, who they knew, have a higher likelihood of being unemployed today, but that they thought, could actually be trained and taught to have a successful career path at Caterpillar. And so some of the things that they did were actually creating a program to enable hands-on manufacturing experience to students earlier on in their journey, and also, in addition to the specifics of the job that Caterpillar was teaching them to do, also offering them some training on some life skills like budgeting and finance, and providing them mentorship with other individuals at the company that allowed these folks to really feel supported by the company, and gave them, more, made them feel like they actually wanted to make Caterpillar a long-time career for them. So this really seemed to help them with not just attracting talent, but being able to retain that talent. All right, and with that ends our overview of Pillar 1 and how you can work to build out your inclusive pipeline. Now, we hope that you stick around and choose to look at some of the other videos that may help you with other parts of your racial equity journey. And if you have any questions on this one or any others, please feel free to reach out to BlackNorth or the Boston Consulting Group team. Thank you very much.